it is clear. So this, so with this, let me allow that
Yeah, thank you so much for just, I think, an overall question to start off with understanding how it was that National Treasury came to this decision. Was it through consultation with the municipalities and the metros themselves, or was this based just purely off of the audit outcomes from the Auditor General, which were released last month as well? Another question is just purely with regards to exactly has been taken away from all 69 of these municipalities, and for how long will this be lasting for? Thank you.
okay. Can I take another hand? Reuters, you may come in. Oh, Bloomberg, sorry.
Our question relates to the sum total of what's being held for approximately 4 trillion as well.
Colleagues, are you able to hear the questions? I also thought.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sure, Bando from Bloomberg. I was just asking what the sum total of the withheld funds are, but also particularly for Johannesburg. Thanks very much.
Okay, number 3.
If I'm not mistaken, National Treasury did the same in, I think it was in December, when 75 municipalities' funds were withheld, and eventually all of them were paid out. How long was the delay in the pay, and yeah, did that bear any fruit? Did you see changes? Haven't been so much of a difference. And then the other question is, SALDA responded to this step by National Treasury by pointing out that many government departments don't pay municipalities. Is National Treasury considering the same kind of steps against government departments that don't pay their creditors?
Thank you so much. Siphamandla.
Well, thank you very much. Sibamandla Goge from ENCA. I'm partly covered, but I would just want to know, as a matter of clarity, what conditions must these municipalities meet in order to access these funds? But also, number 2, how long is this withholding going to last? And what are the plans and measures? I know it's not up to National Treasury, but to safeguard that service delivery is not affected. I know there is a debate about how is this going to affect or not affect service delivery, but also will National Treasury crack the whip much more aggressively, because you say in your statement correctly so that despite some interventions to try and assist these municipalities, they have not been coming to the party. The question is, what next? Thank you.
Thank you. I saw the hand behind. Number 5. Thank you so much. I'm now going to allow the colleagues led.
Good morning. My name is Okhala Letsengarekwe, Head of Intergovernmental Relations Division. Apologies for being late. Maybe starting with the question about how did we arrive at this decision. So as you have seen in the media statement, there are a few categories of those who have got unfunded budgets, and maybe just to answer, what did we expect from those that had unfunded budgets? Essentially, in that case, what we expected was for the municipalities to say, we commit that from now on, we will not table an unfunded budget moving forward, whether it's adjustment, whether it's main budget, So it was just a commitment that we needed in that case. With regards to there's another category obviously of creditors that are owed, whether it's water boards, ESCOM, Auditor General, SARS, pension funds. So essentially in that regard, what we are requesting from those municipalities is for them to give us the payment plan that has been signed by both themselves and together with those creditors. And then once they give us that, we'll release a portion of the money, which is probably one third, for them to go pay those accounts as agreed with those creditors. And then once they have done that, they give us proof, we release the money. I mean, essentially, it means you could your money could be withheld for 2 weeks only. So that's how long it can be, depending. It depends on how fast the municipality act, essentially. And others were unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. That's another part that is all about compliance in that regard. I mean, they had committed to, for example, reduce that unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless expenditure by a certain percentage between January and June 2026. And it relates to the question of December we had withheld, what happened then. So in that regard, we asked them for plans in terms of how you're going to reduce unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless expenditure, as we have heard from Auditor General that there is a big problem that this area is growing. So they had made commitments, and some of them, the reason why the number has reduced to 69, because we've only withheld for 69, is that some did not honor the commitments they made during that time with regards to this unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. With regards to how much, we've only withheld 13.5 billion. And you can imagine, obviously, the overall equitable share of municipalities is for this new financial is 110 billion. So it's only 13.5 billion. Could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, depending on how the responsiveness of the municipality. And for Joburg, the withheld is 3.6 billion. And then the issue about many departments are not paying creditors, and in particular, I think suppose we're focusing on they're not paying municipalities. So that's a big issue. So what we have done since then with the departments, national departments received a letter, I think in February, to say pay your accounts or otherwise National Treasury will also withhold your funds. The same we did with provinces. In April, we sent letters to provinces. They had since responded. We had given them a due date of 29 May to respond to those letters. We have analyzed their responses. We asked for, obviously, to firstly look at that debt and say, is it a true debt? So what we have received is that obviously there's a lot of disputed amounts. Majority of the money or is disputed, and then we're saying to them, on the accounts that you're not disputing, give us a payment plan, and the payment plan should be reasonable to extend that it should be paid within this current financial year. It should not be paid over a number of years. I mean, we had one province that said we'll pay this 700 million over 7 years, which is unreasonable. So we're in the process of writing back to them and say, we've analyzed your response, and in some cases we think that your payment plan is unreasonable, and we require, as we require proof from municipalities as well, in terms of, have you made a payment plan with a creditor or pension fund or ESCOM or water boards? We're also asking the same, to say, give us proof that provinces, you have a payment plan with a municipality. And also what the minister has made clear is that even with the disputed amounts, uh, they need to deal with that within 3 months. So it cannot be disputed forever. So they need to make sure that it's done within the 3 months. And I think the issue of how long will it last, I've responded to that. And really, what's next? I mean, learning from the experience of last year, because even last year, this time, we had withheld the funds for a number of municipalities, probably, I'm not, what does the number? No, in July last year. Okay. So this time last year, we withheld for 75. But I can assure you that within early August, we had already released the money for everyone. So it depends on how fast the municipalities sort out the payment plans and sending us those payment plans and us releasing a portion of those funds to them. And then once they release a portion, they go straight and pay that particular general or water board. And once for them to continue. And we're not expecting it to impact service delivery because, as you would know, majority of the funding at local government level, they raise it from own revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Khale. Can I check for colleagues in the room? Are your questions satisfactorily answered? Maniweb?
Because I have to make sure that the end of May deadline was that only for provincial departments or for national as well?
Provincial.
And what is the deadline for national?
Should I come?
Okay, I think she'll answer. Let me, so that you come once. There's another question that has come. There's a question that came from Classic Business, Michael Avery. He says, Treasury says it's taking, this action is corrective rather than punitive, but who in practice is being corrected here? The politicians and officials who broke the law, or residents who may have less cash available for services? And as a follow-up, he then says, can you point to one mayor, municipal manager, CFO, or councillor who will personally suffer a consequence as a result of this action? I think Michael DDG will speak to it, but just safe to say, separation of powers. Treasury's role is to take the action based on what it is empowered in law, right? And I think the action is based on ensuring compliance within the MFMA, imposition of consequence management that lies with another jurisdiction, as everybody knows that municipalities have councils, they have oversight structures. So I don't think that the question can be fairly responded to by National Treasury. It can be posed to the right authority, but I'm going to allow the DDG just to expand on it. Thanks.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me. So there was a question also in the first round about what was the desired outcome. I'm sure that you've seen in the media, and the Minister of Water and Sanitation has reported this. As a result of this action that we've done jointly with the Department of Water and Sanitation, 2 water boards that was on the brink of being closed, has essentially, this process has helped and facilitated that those 2 water boards are still operational. Now, if a water board cannot proceed and provide services, the impact of that is it's much more negative, because that means communities won't get water. So there was 2 water boards that the Ministry of Water and Sanitation released a media statement to say this process has helped to facilitate that. The second point I want to make is there was a question, is this as a result of the Auditor General's general report or not? there's certainly a linkage, but essentially what we are trying to solve is when the Auditor General report is released, the general report, it's after the event. So what we are trying to facilitate as part of this process, and the fact that the municipality must table a funded budget is a legal requirement in terms of Section 18 of the MFMA. What we've observed in practice, that many councils adopt a budget that's not funded. What it means in practice is there's not sufficient cash to back the expenditure side of the budget. So part of our work and support that we've given to municipalities consistently is to help them to table a funded budget and help them to deal with the planning problems up front. Because if you don't plan well and you overspend your budget, that portion has been regarded as unauthorized expenditure. So there's a relationship with the Auditor General's report, but the preparation work to guide municipalities have been extensive in the sense of all our circulars. We've even developed a framework for them to deal with consequence management. Ultimately, as Cleo has indicated, the council make the final decisions, and therefore they make the final choices. It's the same at a provincial level. The Provincial Executive Council is accountable. The same at the national level, it's cabinet. That's all from my side for now. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Kensani Makanata, as previously introduced. So I think there was a question about consequence management specifically, and I think Cleo covered it to a large extent, because when it comes to the design of the system, what is supposed to happen, for instance, when you talk to unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, that stems from non-compliance with the MFMA. So what's supposed to happen is those matters are supposed to be referred to a body called a disciplinary board, where they will investigate whether someone was intentional or they were negligent in the breach of the law. And then what is supposed to happen based on the recommendations and the findings, consequence management is supposed to be implemented by the municipal council based on the recommendations of the disciplinary board, where they recommend this person has committed an act of financial misconduct because they failed to prevent the incurrence of irregular expenditure, as an example. And based on that, we recommend that they undergo a disciplinary proceedings, which will then result in sanctions. So we have seen some progress, as previously indicated, in terms of a reduction and also in terms of the implementation of consequence management. So that's why you see the number gradually reducing in as far as it relates to those two specific areas, because we had 55 out of the 75 in December, and then that has reduced to now 39, because we've seen some municipalities address both, where it was both issues, and we have seen municipalities work towards reducing those areas and also implementing consequence management. But the emphasis is that this should be done at the municipal level, where it is picked up that there is non-compliance. And if you relate back to what the AG has said, is that consequence management in most municipalities is still not happening. So the process that we undertook is we have engagements with municipalities where we write to them to inform them of the non-compliance, and we tell them of the steps that they must take in order to address the non-compliance. And then we take it based on their responses in terms of their actions and the steps that they are planning to undertake to address the non-compliance. And then based on that, we make an assessment and make recommendations. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kensani and Jan. I'm now going to read questions that are coming on from online, and then I'll come back to the room. Anelita from Eyewitness News says, when municipalities are aware And at which point was it confirmed to them that their funds for July would be withheld? And then another one from the Insight Factor, Modiba. The move to temporarily withhold finances is seen as a move to ensure that public money is used correctly, and this should be applauded. But do you think this bold intervention will bear success whilst the very same corrupt individuals remain? For an example, in the Ngaka Modiri municipality in the northwest, there's been countless media reports exposing how the mayor, there called Kumalo Molefe, is alleged involved in corruption and illegally runs the administration processes of that municipality. To this day, he still remains in his position. Secondly, in the city municipality, the CFO Messi Petla was arrested for financial misconduct and paying ghost payments, yet she still remains. So does the department think this move will be successful if the very same individuals remain? The third part of his question, over the years, we've heard of a missing 2 billion in the Ekurhuleni municipality. The officials of the municipalities have since failed to show us on paper where the missing 2 billion is, some within the AG stating that the challenge was over budgeting from the side of the municipality. Is National Treasury aware of the missing 2 billion in Ekurhuleni? So, and then the other question is from Velani Ludidi from News 24. Why intervene now rather than earlier? Were other municipalities considered? Has anyone objected? How much money has actually been withheld? Has Treasury ever used Section 216 this extensive before? How many municipalities are one step away from a similar action? The other one is from Simon from IOL News. Could more municipalities face similar action in future if they fail to comply? Are there any municipalities that the Treasury is considering to face similar action? Will Treasury consider withholding larger portions of funding if non-compliance persists? What message does this decision send to municipalities that continue to ignore the Municipal Finance Management Act? The last one from online comes from Arthur from Heart FM in Cape Town. Before making this decision, what measures and interventions did National Treasury put in place to assist municipalities facing service delivery challenges? Can you elaborate on the support provided, whether those interventions achieve the desired outcomes? And the second layer of the question is, the public protector noted that financial constraints are affecting service delivery in many municipalities, has recommended that National Treasury review whether the current funding mechanisms are adequate for municipalities facing significant infrastructure backlogs. What is the Treasury's response on this finding? I'm going to take question inside. Maybe before the DDG comes in, let me quickly deal with the question from Insight Factor. I think the point that Kensani, Jan, and probably even myself commented on the issue, the consequence management, where it lies. It doesn't lie at National Treasury. I think that one has been covered. Yeah. And then I'm going to go to Sipamandla and then and yourself. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Commander from ENC again. According to the Auditor General, the Free State and the Northwest are some of the struggling provinces, of course. That's according to the Auditor General. In terms of your pattern analysis as Treasurer, which provinces would you say somehow challenging and repeat offenders municipalities in terms of non-compliance and also you withholding these funds? Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleague in front.
Thank you. My name is Hawelo Magolero from UFM. I wanted to ask the same question as Pamanda, so it will just add to my list. But practically, what does this withholding of funds means for me as a resident in one of the municipalities? Are they going to not be able to do the basics? give an idea as to time and again, period of immigration-related unrest, it has been placed on record that the Border Management Authority operates at less than half of its intended capacity. So I just want to find out if there's any funds, additional funds that are being made available for them, and also for the Home Affairs Department itself to employ immigration inspectors to operate inland, whom we are told that they need more than 10,000 of them and only have a few hundreds. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So colleagues, allow me to get the team to respond to the set. There were quite a number of questions. There's other additional questions that are coming online. So thank you for your understanding on the approach.
Okay, thanks for the question. The deadline for national. So we're also in the process of writing back to them again now, just to set out the process in terms of how it's going to unfold for national. So also because in that, we would like them to do is to ensure that they verify the accounts that has been provided, because in some instances you find that there will be a municipality in case at the end that says, for example, National Treasury owe us, and yet National Treasury does not have regional offices. So there needs to be a data cleansing process as well. So, but it's we are saying to departments, whether provincial or national, to say it's best interest to follow up and make sure that you don't have such cases where you get accounts from municipalities that you don't have offices in that particular municipality. So I think that's going to be important. And I think on the issue of who's being corrected, municipalities or citizens. So we, in our view, are correcting the behavior in municipalities. And obviously, as you have said, we want also that to go to departments as well, all three spheres of government. So in the sense that we need to get in a habit of paying our creditors. I mean, imagine in these instances where pension funds, money are taken from employee salaries, but yet they're not paid over. So if something happened to a particular employee and then their families are not able to claim from pension funds because a certain municipality did not pay. So it's a big issue that we're trying to ensure that such cases, people do not get used to not paying that. Where the municipalities are aware, and at which point, yes, I can confirm that the first set of letters went to municipalities on the 22nd of June and the 23rd. So, and just to say, at that time, we wrote to 99 municipalities. So 30 responded in a way that we have not withheld their money. So we had written to the 99 municipalities, and we only are withholding now today because the money was due to be released today. We're withholding for 69. And there in that, obviously, we requested a number of documents and proof, and all, as I indicated earlier, to say, in the case where you owe people, you'll tell us you will have a payment plan. And then I think Kensani spoke about on the issues of unauthorized, irregular, and fruitless expenditure. What was the expectation? And those 30 submitted what was required. Even with regards to the unfunded budgets, they would have said, we commit that the future councils, because of, as you know, we're going to local government elections, or committing that the future councils will not table an unfunded budget. So I think on the case of Ngakamudi Remolema that has been spoken about, I mean, there are consequence management that should be in place, and there are law. If there are court cases with regards to the CFO, we'll let the law to run its course in that regard. But we do accept that they might not necessarily deal with corruption. Obviously, there are kind of areas that we're looking at. For example, we're also trying to get to publish the procurement data for municipalities at some point, so that we're working towards that, so that we increase transparency. So those are the issues that will increase that transparency in the future. With regards to Ikurleni, the money that was missing, it was really from unauthorized expenditure. It was a non-cash item, so it was not really money left the system and all of that. Has we done this before? Yes, we've been doing this since 2024.
2015 was the first time.
Okay. Yes, but I think in the past few years we've been doing it for lesser municipalities. I think probably last year that's going to begin to have a big number that we have done. And as I indicated before, we've been able to release money earlier. So the time it will take to release the money, it will depend on the time it takes for municipality to respond. Could more municipalities face the same action? Yes, had the 30 part of the 99 not answered in the way that we requested them to, they could have been part. So there could be more, there could be less in the future. But we're hoping that through this process, there could be less because this section 216 of the Constitution is in our view, is a measure of last resort, and we don't want to do it all the time. We're expecting that behavior will change and we don't have to do it again. So what does this message send to municipalities? It says we're really serious about compliance to legislation. So it's important that municipalities comply, or all three spheres of government comply to the legislations that we have. We're not expecting that service delivery will be interrupted, as I indicated earlier. As you know that as much as the transfers from national are below 200 billion for municipalities a year. But if you look at the budget of a municipality, when you include the revenue that they raise, I mean, in this previous financial year, they had a budget of around approximately 750 billion, yet we had transferred less than 200 billion to them. So it just shows you that they've got more revenue raising power from the constitution, unlike provinces. Provinces only raise less than 30 billion a year. Municipalities raise almost 500 billion from their revenue. So we're not expecting that service delivery will be impacted. Because in any event, in this transfer, we're only transferring 42% of the equitable share for this period. And the next transfer is in December, and the last one is in March. So reviewing the current funding mechanism, yes, indeed. As we have heard, we are busy reviewing the local government fiscal framework at the moment as National Treasury. So we started last year. So right now we've finalized the expenditure analysis. So we're busy reviewing the revenue part of that work that we're doing as National Treasury. So at the right time, Minister will indicate what was the outcome of that. So the struggling municipalities, as said by AGSA, is still the same. We see that if you look at the list, you will see that the number of municipalities from Northwest and from Free State are still higher. So what does this mean for citizens, really? It means that the citizens, as Ian has indicated, we're worried about the fact that we're not getting services. We would like to see a change in behavior in municipalities. As Ian said, last year, Val Central and Mahalis Water almost went bankrupt. But through this process, we've been able to help them to stay, to remain a going concern. And because we said with these municipalities, 12 of them last year, if I remember correctly, go and pay this water boards. With regards to the immigration story, obviously was not part of this, but there's a budget process, as you know. And previously, because as you know, BMA was a new entity at some point a couple of years ago. So there was funding provided, and if there's more money that they need, they would have submitted through to National Treasury on the 26th of June, the submissions were due for the new budget process for 2027 MTF. Thank you.
So colleagues, on that question about why that mayor is still in office, as a bureaucrat, I think it's more appropriate for the Minister of Finance to respond to that. And my understanding is he's going to have a briefing session tomorrow, if I understand it correctly. So I think it would be inappropriate for Treasury officials to respond to that type of question. What I wanted to add is that Ukhalia has indicated that in the Division of Revenue Act, the dates on which municipalities receive the equitable share, those dates are legislated, and it is included in the Division of Revenue Act that has now been acted for this new budget cycle, and it was gazetted on the 3rd of July. The installments is today, 8th of July, 9th of December, and the 10th of March next year. And you will also see on our website, for transparency purposes, we normally put on the website the actual payment schedule, how the money flows to municipalities, both the equitable share on which date, as well as the supporting conditional grants. For the new cycle, that payment schedule will be put on the website in the next few days. So then you can see the actual date for which amount to which municipality. That assists municipalities with their planning processes and their budget formulation processes. The point I wanted to add is the concern that services are not rendered to communities. This is one of the issues that we are grappling with as Team Finance. And you will see, if you look at our oversight reports, quarterly basis, we release the financial performance as well as conditional grant performance for all 257 municipalities. We do that quarterly in terms of the section 71 of the MFMA. And the real concern that impact on service delivery is the fact if municipalities don't use those grants productively. And I'm sure you've also seen from time to time that the money gets surrendered back to the National Revenue Fund. That is not the desired effect that we have, because those services and that funding is meant to facilitate service delivery. And hence we are working ourselves with provincial treasuries and our counterparts or partners, including SALGA, to equip municipalities to improve their planning, their budgeting systems, so that they can use this money properly and that the citizens benefit from that resources that's been allocated by Parliament. Thanks.
Maybe I must focus on the support that we have provided to municipalities before we came to the decision. I think Jan can talk to the debt relief that we are doing for municipalities, but I'll just focus briefly on what we have been doing to support municipalities on the areas of reducing unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. And just this past month in June, we just concluded a few provincial roadshows, except for two provinces, Limpopo and Mpumalanga, which are scheduled for later this month, where we took councillors, particularly your municipal public accounts committees, officials, through the process of actually, from the start, how do you reduce unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure? And when you have incurred it, how do you process it through the system in terms of what must be submitted to the Municipal Public Accounts Committee and what should go through to council in terms of whether you are recovering. For instance, we have instances where there was fruitless and wasteful expenditure where a municipality inadvertently paid a supplier twice for the same services that have been rendered. In that instance, we emphasize that recovery must happen, because then that money that must be recovered can be redirected towards service delivery. So what we have been doing with municipalities is we having ongoing building sessions. And those of you who have been paying attention to local government would know that government started putting the spotlight on unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure back in 2016. So we started with monitoring the top 10 highest municipalities, and through supporting them with capacity building sessions ongoing, because we believe that although we are implementing this step, we are open to actually providing that support and guidance, and at particular times we also provide resources to these particular municipalities to assist them to deal with municipal finances, and also setting them towards the path of recovery. So there's a myriad of actions that we are taking as National Treasury to support municipalities, and those municipalities, for instance, that are struggling. We have a unit called Municipal Recovery Services that assists municipalities with actually developing plans, financial recovery plans, and assisting them to actually collect what is due to them in as far as that recovery plan is concerned. But coupled with that, we have been issuing circulars that provide support. Jan spoke about the consequence management framework that we have issued for municipalities to into consequence management, but we've also issued what we call MFMA Circular 68. So when you look at that circular, we have reworked it because through our capacity building initiatives, we have picked up that in some instances, municipalities were not clear in terms of how to deal with it, how to implement consequence management, particularly when clear that. So we've beefed it up with supporting templates that will assist with proper reporting that's aligned back to the legislation. So our capacity building is ongoing. We have a few sessions that are scheduled actually later this week on Friday. For instance, we have a session with Ekurhuleni, and we are planning other sessions with other municipalities so that we can demystify how to address unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, because we understand this mechanism is not long-term. And so we are trying to balance the corrective actions with support. Thanks.
Maybe just to add briefly on the support that we provide to municipalities. There are a number of areas: your asset management, revenue management, funded budgets, audit outcomes, SCM. We provide support, and we do have technical assistance that even deployed to municipalities to assist them. But just maybe focus on the revenue management, because part of the big part of actually withholding, it relates to that municipalities are not able to collect revenue because maybe they set tariffs that are not right. But as you know, we do have this program called Municipal Debt Relief Program. And what we've been doing with those municipalities that are in that program, we began to help them with smart meters as part of the support to ensure that they're able to generate more revenue. And we've seen the benefits of that in a number of municipalities where we have implemented that, where now they are a current account with ESCOM up to date. We believe that even this metro trading services reform that we're implementing metros, I mean, it's going to ensure that the infrastructure for water, electricity, solid waste are in good condition, that the metros will be able to collect more revenue as required. So because those are the trading services. So it's part of the interventions that government is busy assisting municipalities with. And we're also in the process of looking at other programs that can be implemented, piloted in other at local municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, DDG. I have a set of questions that are coming on online, and then I'll come back to the room. Michael is asking, Treasury says municipal non-payment is threatening the financial sustainability of ESCOM and water boards, and that municipalities owed 3.4 billion in interest to ESCOM and 1.21 billion in interest to water boards by the 2025 year end. If these municipalities already cannot pay ESCOM and water boards, how does taking away liquidity improve their ability to pay those creditors? On what empirical basis can Treasury state that there will be no impact on service delivery? Have you conducted a municipality by municipality cash flow analysis before making that claim? Will you publish those cash flow assessments? That's one question online. The next question is from Carol Payton, News 24. In the case of Johannesburg, the city has between only 5 and 17 days of cash cover. A 3 billion hit to income in July would definitely impact cash flow. Your comment? Another question from Carol Payton. WRT to unfunded budgets. Are you saying that Munich's must promise in the future not to table an unfunded budget, or they must redo adjustment budgets? Another one from Carol Payton. In the case of Joburg, are you saying that the city does not have to revisit the 10 billion politically negotiated wage adjustment? From what Okhale was saying, it seems that all Joburg needs to do is to adopt a funded budget in the future. Is that it? And then you have Rowan from Citywire. Has the National Treasury identified any municipalities that are using their local government equitable share allocations primarily to fund the salaries and the remuneration of councillors, mayors, or other political office bearers at the expense of service delivery? Another question from Carol Payton. If you did this at the same time last year and then paid Munich's after a month or two, now those Munich's are back on the list for punishment. What is the value of the temporary withholding once a year? Why would any municipality listen to you in future for longer than a month? And then the Mail and Guardian. Is Treasury not concerned also that the move could hit the City of Joburg credit rating and or outlook, especially after the Moody's decision not to downgrade just last week and held COJ's outlook as positive, in line with SA government sovereign outlook? So those are the questions online. The colleagues in the room have waited for too long. Because I appreciate their understanding, I'm going to reach out to them to ask questions, and then we can just take all in one bulk. Is that so? Can it work? Let me start from my left, Money Web.
Thank you. In the press release, it was stated that the failure of municipalities to pay third parties continue to impact the ability of FSCA, the Auditor General at SARS to operate optimally. Now, firstly, why do municipalities pay the FSCA? Sorry if you can just clarify that. And then can you give us the numbers? What do municipalities owe the FSCA, the AG and SARS?
Thank you. Can I go to my right, Reuters, and right at the back?
If you could help me understand this action, especially like in the case of the City of Johannesburg, is this the first step into putting the city under administration, or is this the National Treasury's version of putting the City of Johannesburg under administration?
National Treasury's version, that's interesting.
From Nation Africa. This is the fourth time funds have been withheld, as Jan said, since 2015. And in 2015, it was 60 municipalities. So are we seeing really an improvement in such action, stakeholders need to be pulled in here, where there's stubbornness in issues within municipalities, particularly around that wasteful expenditure. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Kopano, before DDG comes in and the colleagues, there is no version of National Treasury inversion anyway. There's only one version, and National Treasury executing its mandate in line with the Constitution. Thanks.
The issue of I think Jan will provide more details, but essentially through the monthly reports before the beginning of the financial year, a municipality would provide the cash flow through the Section 71 reports. With regards to the issue of City of Joburg, I'll answer some question. So the fact that obviously we've just asked municipal to commit that they will table funded budgets in the future and not redo adjustment budgets. So the adjustment budget have passed. Remember, we're in the new financial year now. The adjustment budget was for 2025-26. The financial year has ended on 30 June. So we're in the new year. So later, obviously, this financial year, municipalities will have to table adjustment after, obviously, provinces and national will have tabled theirs as well. So it's a requirement that obviously you adjust the budget when necessary. I think the value of the withholding, we've already spoken about it, of Joburg, which is 3.6 billion that we've spoken about. The credit rating, yeah, obviously, I mean, we would want all municipalities, including the City of Joburg, to comply so that the credit ratings are not impacted. The FSA really relates to the pension funds. Is the pension funds monies that the employees that the municipalities would have taken from their salaries, and also the portion of the municipality that they've not paid over to the pension funds. With regards to SARS as well, we'd have taken tax from my salary, but you have not paid over that pay as you earn part. With regards to the AGSA is the audit fees, and as you know that there's the new cycle for auditing for municipalities about to begin for the financial that just ended now. And the next couple of months will be submitting their annual financial statements to Auditor General. So therefore, they need to pay for the previous audit. This is not really a first step of putting City of Joburg under administration. We're not trying to do that because the legislation is clear. We have to put it under Section 139(7) of the Constitution. There's a process that we need to follow. So this is not a process that would do. We're not doing that. With regard to seeing improvement, well, at this moment, obviously, because the number has increased or the number is reduced from previous year of from 75 to 69, there's a little bit, but just to say that we had written the letters as well in December. We did not just do it last year and just forget about it. It's not a once-off thing. So we tried to do it 3 times as those dates of July, December, and March. We tried to do that as well to ensure that municipality pay, in particular, because those payments they pay those creditors, the ESCOM and water boards. I think I'll allow my other colleagues to respond to other questions. But with regards to the PFA, what I understood from the City of Joburg, what they've said at least is that they will implement that PFA according to the availability of the budget. So they will not just say we're implementing the 10 billion. That's what they said to us. So maybe just to comment on that. Thank you.
So colleagues, as far as the cash flow question is concerned, as part of a Section 71 quarterly publication, we publish, as I've indicated, the financial performance as well as conditional grant performance. In the local government space, we have accrual budgeting and accrual reporting system. So if you look at our publication, it consists of and I'm going to use the old terminology, an income statement, a balance sheet, and the cash flow information. And it's there for all municipalities. Again, the way the law is designed, the municipality must firstly use that information themselves for management purpose. So the fact that the National Treasury do monitoring oversight, consolidate that information and put it in the public domain, do not take the responsibility away from the municipality and the council to manage their own affairs. So I think that's an important point. And the cash flow statements is included as part of that publication. We still have quality issues with information. One of the big reforms that we've introduced to deal with the quality of municipal information is what we refer to as the standard chart of accounts. So it's a uniform classification system. So if you look at the accounts of one municipality and you look at the accounts of number 257, that you can compare apples with apples. That's at the heart of the municipal standard chart. So it's a uniform classification system to help us to get much more meaningful and quality information for monitoring and oversight purposes, but also for resource allocation purposes. The number of municipalities that the questioner referred to, in 2015, it was 59 municipalities. So although the ballpark is very similar, but if you look at it in detail, you'll see different municipalities because sometimes the circumstances change. So it's not necessarily the same group that is, there is an element of that, and that's why this repayment arrangement is critical. So if you commit and there's a signed repayment agreement, the expectation is that you will honor what you've agreed to with your creditor. If we, as part of the monitoring system, determine that you deviate, then we ask you to explain yourself. And if the explanation is not a meaningful explanation, then we will obviously proceed with taking these measures. Now, the way the Constitution is designed, and this is important, the national, provincial, and local government, or national government and provincial government, have a responsibility in terms of Section 154 of the Constitution to provide support. So the fact that my colleague has referred to all our circulars, all our guidelines, all the regulations, and all the training and even our capacity support programs is precisely to give effect to that constitutional provision. So we can't escape our responsibility to continue providing support. The second part is if the advisory information, the preventative information processes do not translate into the desired result, then the Constitution has this provision, which is in Section 139 of the Constitution. Also, coincidentally, Section 139 of the MFMA. Both are Chapter 13 in the Constitution and Chapter 13 in the MFMA. That's the instrument that you need to follow if you want to put a municipality under intervention. So there's a procedure that you need to follow. And as the Deputy DG IGR indicate, that is not on the charts as we speak in the context of the Joburg case. Then there's the other provision that's in the Constitution that we have invoked in this case, Section 2162, where the National Treasury can withhold the funds for all organs of state. And progressively, we are doing this now to deal with this culture of non-payment in our system. The law is very clear that you have to pay your creditors within 30 days. And this is essentially one of the big challenges where I think the city of Joburg is dealing with at the moment. Do you have sufficient cash to pay your creditors? And I think that's one of the requirements in most of the correspondence. Again, we have given our notices to municipalities. We've given them 7 days to respond. Then we process that information. We check whether they have not dealt with this issue before. And based on that information, and this is the beauty of the initial notice to 99 municipalities, as the Deputy DG indicated, 69 have not given us all the evidence that's required. So the quicker they do this, the quicker we can release the money. And for all the time that we've introduced this process, the legislation allows us 120 days as a maximum period. In the whole time that we've exercised this provision in the Constitution, we've never exceeded more than 30 days. So the fact that there was a second notice where the minister communicated that we're now proceeding, that then has sparked a reaction. And obviously, as the information gets submitted, we work through that in quite detail. As far as the budget is concerned, and the Joburg is an example, initially, when they've tabled the adopted budget, as a Treasury, we've institutionalized a practice for the big cities that report directly to the National Treasury, and there's 17 of them. We've routinely assessed their budgets annually, and at that point, the budget was not funded. After we've had our formal engagement, we've worked with the city to the point when they took it to council for adoption, the budget was funded. So this is a process that's been institutionalized over a number of years. By now, theoretically, we shouldn't have any municipality that adopt an unfunded budget. But there's a process that's been institutionalized. So we look at the tabled budget, which is normally on the 31st of March. We look at the adopted budget, which is in most cases by the end of May. And then we also assess the adjustment budget to make sure that municipalities don't live beyond their means by adopting a budget that they can't sustain. Thanks.
Thank you, colleagues. Can I check if we've answered all your questions in the room? Is there anyone who has a clarity-seeking questions? Money Web.
I just want to clarify the numbers, please. The total withheld, is it 13 or 30 billion? 13. And that is out of how much?
110 billion rand.
For this tranche?
No.
Total for the year?
Yep, it's for the year.
So it's for, remember there's 3 installments, and the 69 to delay it for this 13.5. The 110 is for the whole year. I unfortunately don't have that number with me. That was the total amount that I can check what was due in totality for this first tranche.
Okay, and then I think DDG, you said the municipalities from own revenue generate about 750 billion. Is that per year? Yes. Thanks.
Thank you, colleagues. As we conclude the media briefing, I would like to thank everyone who has joined us in person and also online. We appreciate this collaboration with yourselves as media partners, because we use you as our messages to the public. Go well And till we meet again, the meeting is adjourned. Thanks.